Shalom, Shanti, peace, everybody. This is Emmanuel once again coming to you with another episode of the Sex Magic Podcast. If you are a return listener, you know you're the real MVP. You are a true ascender. What's happening? If you're new to this channel, welcome. Welcome to the tribe. Welcome to just an amazing experience. And if you go ahead and leave a comment, once you subscribed, just say I've subscribed. I'll go ahead and send you a little welcome message just to welcome you to the tribe. But today, what we're going to talk about is an unconventional perspective on increasing energy and attracting magic. Welcome back to the Sex Magic Podcast. It's your host, Emmanuel, once again. What a topic we have today. We're talking about energy. We're talking about attracting magic. We're talking about philosophy, energy mechanics, all of that in this one episode. I realized that I needed to record this because we all talk about protecting our energy, increasing our energy, not allowing people to have a negative impact on our energy. And we don't really know that not all things are built the same, right? Some people, they'll delete all the bad music from their iTunes, or they'll go fully raw vegan, not knowing that there's levels to energy and levels to how society impacts our energy and impacts our decisions, and how we ourselves and what we do impacts our energy. So the best way to think about this is concentric circles, right? Where you have 4 levels of a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle, and each of these circles represents a level. Now, and what's interesting is it goes from inward to outward, essentially. So if we start at the heart of this concentric circle, the heart of energy and what impacts our energy, it's us. It's our self-love. It's us and our guidance and whether or not we're listening to it, right? So I think we're loving ourselves. We all talk about loving ourselves. I just need to love myself, and I need to do this, that, and the third, take time to figure out myself. What does that really mean? In my experience, I've seen that self-love really means letting go of the things that you're doing out of obligation, out of fear, things that don't harmonize with your field and with your growth anymore, and being very authentic to those yearnings and to those feelings. As we go on our process and our journeys and our paths, one of the things we recognize is the sensitivity to harmony and discord that we feel in our lives. And part of the training process throughout this life is to acclimate us and get us comfortable with trusting those internal yearnings and those internal feelings. So guidance is key and critical. You'll see the people that live the most out of fear, or the most not in their authentic self, are the ones that have the most chaos, are the ones that are always trying to put out a fire, are the ones that are not content, are the ones that are not at peace, and they for sure don't have happiness or fulfillment, because you yourself and the decisions you make and whether or not you're listening to your intuition, to your guidance, to your higher self, is what ultimately really is going to impact your energy field. And that's why in this podcast we're all about authenticity. We're all about authentic expression. Because the more that you can connect with that, the more that you can find words to that and begin to live out of those purer feelings, you'll feel lighter. You guys ever have a job or been in I don't know, maybe you were in college and you were in a major that didn't really fit you? Or maybe you was in a relationship that was not working out, was disharmonious to your energy field because that influence was wreaking havoc on your energy field. Have you ever released that consciously, and then you realize a lightness came over you? That's what we're aiming at. Heaviness is not natural. Forcing things is not natural. Harmony and alignment is what's natural. So that's the first circle, is the circle of guidance and being led by self-love. And so that's why part of sex magic and creating a magical experience in your life, within yourself, and even in your romantic life, that's why being yourself is so critical. Being aware of your light and your shadow side is so critical because it humanizes you and allows, and that level of knowing who you are allows another person who has done the inner work to accept you. But you see, it's once you accept yourself, you start to attract people who accept you. And so no longer do you have to feel like you have to be something other than yourself. You can just be you. And how beautiful is that? How much of a love vibration is that? That you can just be yourself. Oh my gosh. Clap one time. If you resonate with that. I am clapping. That's a testimony of mine. Now, when we go to the next circle, this one is another one that's close to our heart because it's still in our body and it's still within, though it's influenced from outside of us, as we'll get to it. And that's the ideological mind level. So when we talk about anti-energy traps, we talk about the identity trap, feeling like you have to change people, feeling like you have to be something other than yourself, the morality trap, the government trap, and the selfishness trap, the certainty trap, the control trap, the power trap. All these traps, all these ideologies can have a massive impact on our energy fields. Some of these ideologies are just not true, right? Some of these ideologies do not help us in our energy field. Some of the mindsets that we have. And that's why on this podcast, we're so much about looking at so many of these ideologies and mindsets and assessing them and digging deep into them to see whether or not it helps us or not. You know, I am only really about functionality and practicality. What is really going to get me to my goal of having a higher energy field, right? So that's why we talk about anti-energy traps. I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, what does identity trap and all these things have to do with sex and romance and life and ascension and all this stuff? Everything. You know, if you believe that the world is out to get you, and you have to fight the world, and you have to fight for this and fight for that, and you have to meet hate with hate, come on, who am I talking to who's fighting hate with hate? It's third dimensional, y'all. This third dimensional. We're going to the fifth dimension. We don't respond to hate with hate. We respond to discord with love. Discord with love. Okay? So that's why we have to be very cautious and careful of what the masses are doing, what everybody else is doing. We are not everybody else. We're ascenders. We're ascending into the fifth dimension. And we're acting that out. We're living that out. So anything that's pulling you into a lower vibration, you think you got to play games with him because he didn't respond to your text message soon enough. You thinking you got to, talk bad about somebody because they talked bad about you. Ponder that, right? But also the other thing is our mind can be an incredible vehicle through which we can begin to download into ourselves ideologies and mindsets that really help us, right? If you go from a mindset or ideology of I just have to work and toil for everything that I have, and I gotta sell my soul and do all this stuff just for a piece of bread in this world, reality will reflect that to you because it's deep in your subconscious. But if you come to life knowing that your needs are being taken care for, that things that you don't even understand are being worked out to the greatest and the highest good, that there are so many bountiful, plentiful things that you can be in gratitude about and appreciation about, if you can realize that you are special and that your energy is enough to help shift and help save and help heal the world, that you're doing your work, that you can live out of purity, that you can live from your heart. And that even if your heart is disappointed, that because you are so connected and in union and pure in your intention, my Lord, what Spirit will do and how fast Spirit will move to heal you, to bring you things that are on your level. Come on now. Come on now, everybody. So that's ideology in the mind level. That is so tantamount, and it is second to your own decisions and your own guidance. Okay? Now, the third level is the consumption level. And a lot of people underestimate this level and overestimate this level. They think that it's more important than living out of love and living out of harmony and living out of your truth and your authenticity. Sometimes they think that is more important than their ideology, right? You can be raw vegan, you can, abstain from explicit music and violent movies and all this imagery and all this stuff. But if your mind ain't right, if you're not living pure, that don't really matter. But it is a thing, right? So that's why throughout the podcast, what we are gonna discuss things like pornography and the impacts that it has on your energy field. We're gonna talk about things like nutrition and how food is energy, literally. So what are we putting into our bodies, right? And how is that impacting our energy field? Is it making us feel lighter, or is it making us feel more sluggish? We're going to talk about imagery and music, and is this music that we're listening to lifting us up to higher planes, or is it causing us to entertain thoughts and ideologies that are outside of ourselves that we don't want to inherit because we want to vibrate on a higher frequency, right? And then, of course, the movies and the things that we watch, we're going to talk about that. But we have to know that these things are, in a way, tertiary, right? They're third too. They are important. Like, don't get me wrong. These things are very important. You should guard your energy field. You should guard what you consume all day long because, I take that seriously. But at the social media consumption and how that is impacting our energy field, we start to get out of being content with where we're at in our path, which impacts our mindset, which impacts our choices, which impacts whether or not we follow our guidance. You guys see where this is coming from? You see the more outside we go in these concentric circles, the more impacts the inside decisions, right? So going to the fourth one, we're going to talk about our environment and our social space, who we're hanging around, what we're watching on TV, what we're consuming in social media, our cultural conditioning, our social conditioning. We have to, and sometimes these are even traps, ideological traps, but essentially the environment that we're in can have a huge role in our energy field. So the environment, right? You grow up in America, listening to certain music or watching certain films, everybody else is on their phone. That's going to really start to determine what you do consume, which is going to determine a lot of your ideologies and your mindsets. If you're around people who believe that life is hard and things only come through toiling in the sun, and they don't believe in guidance, they don't believe in spirit at all. They believe that they're alone. They believe that they're separate. They believe that they have to be, everything is on them in the sweat of their brow. That can impact you in a really deep way. So your environment is critical. And that's why we have to, bring our weapons of war, our logic, our reason, and our heart to the environment and to the culture, because essentially, if we don't create the culture is going to create us. Let me say that again. If we don't create the culture, if we don't embody the culture of the world that we want to live in, the culture will create us. And we will be products of a dying culture. And we will really ascend in the way that we're capable of. Let that rest for a moment, right? You're a culture creator. You're an ascender. An ascender is a person that's going to go out into the community, take all the things, all the inner work they've done, and go out into the culture and community and impact it. That's what we're doing here, right? And the culture that you create is going to then set a precedent for what people consume. So the culture is going to create an environment in which people consume differently. The ideas that people have about life, about the world, about how to navigate life are different. And then that's create all that comes together into the individual person. And that person then decides that they're going to live and they're going to walk differently. They're going to live out of love and not fear. They're going to live out of the authenticity of their energy field and not out of obligation and not out of tradition and not out of things that they know they don't want to give 110,000% of themselves in. So do you guys see how the more work you do on this, you're not only going to increase your life, you're attracting a world in which you want to really be a part of. You want to be a citizen of. And this is unconventional approach and how we attract magic. Our energy starts all from within. So I ask you, what dealings, what people, what ties do you have in this moment that aren't out of your highest self, that are in discord? That you know that despite that you keep trying to hold on to, but you're getting diminishing returns. If you're getting diminishing returns and you're trying your best, that's like Spirit saying, screaming, leave. And trust that I will bring forth to you newer and better things. Clap one time. Clap one time. That resonated with you. Hey now. So that's where we're at, y'all. We increasing energy. We're attracting magic. We're attracting sex magic. We're attracting intimacy and oneness with spirit and with life and with just having the light of our soul express itself here on this earthly plane. So once again, this is your host Emmanuel coming to you once again with another episode. Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend that you know can benefit from this. Of course, leave me a comment, leave me a topic suggestion, or email me if you're going through anything you want to talk about in your path, in your life, in your love life, whatever it is. I'm here. Once again, if you're new and you subscribe, just say, hey, I've subscribed. I'll definitely send you a welcome email, because I'm here to create a culture in which we have intimacy with one another. So, yeah, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Holla back. Peace.